Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a great day, everyone. You guys made it just in the nick of crime. See what I did there? We're playing into the name. Anyways, whether you are here right now lighting up our live chat or you're watching this from the future, welcome to the best part of your day. I see a lot of our regulars coming in the chat here on TikTok and some of you guys coming in on YouTube. Instagram's kind of loading in as well, so appreciate you guys. And if you're new here or you're catching this on replay, we'll get comfy because you've just found your new favorite corner of the internet. Now, quick PSA for you guys, for our time travelers watching that replay, drop those comments anyways because I do read every single one of them, and our amazing community keeps the conversation going long after we wrap up the live. Now, if you are watching on TikTok, and this applies to TikTok only because TikTok does not like to play well with other platforms. You see, I can stream this show simultaneously on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, but TikTok does not allow that. So that being said, you are welcome to stay here. We will always have this here for you guys to listen to, but you will not be able to see any pictures or anything that we put up while this is going on. The only way you're going to be able to see that is if you are watching it on YouTube. If you want to get to that, you can go to the link in my bio. It will take you right here to YouTube, and you can watch it, same name. But if you are on Instagram or Facebook watching this, you're good right where you are, unless you just want to come over. Now, we have an absolutely incredible show lined up today. Today, we're going to be covering several major developing stories that highlight critical issues of public safety and accountability, from concerning revelations about Sean Diddy Combs' alleged party requirements, which is very interesting, as well as surveillance practices, to violence at polling stations in Texas, troubling case involving a Long Island child therapist. That one's really concerning. And we're also going to discuss the tragic incident involving Switzerland's assisted death technology because, y'all, for my true crimers out here, this one's going to be one you definitely don't want to miss. Now, I also want to remind everyone that if you haven't already, please check out the episode that we did the other day with Relentless Aaron. He was one of Diddy's early victims, early survivors, and it was amazing hearing his story. He offered, in my opinion, a lot of interesting insight. It is on the Diddy playlist. If you missed that on YouTube, it is still there. You can go listen to it. But it's how he got away from Diddy with his life. Absolutely crazy story, so make sure that you do that. Now, before we begin today's show, because I haven't turned on the happy music yet, and I want to address something, and I actually wrote this out, so I'm going to read this, okay? But before I get into that, I just want to first and foremost express my sincere gratitude for every one of y'all and your continued support in this wonderful community that we have built together on all four of the platforms where this is streaming right now. Now, with that said, I'm going to read this. While I absolutely love creating content for you guys, I feel it's important to have an open and honest conversation about the nature of this work. This platform is my full-time profession and how I support my family. As such, you'll notice that I begin most of these shows by sharing information about my books, where, why they were written, how to purchase them, encouraging follows and subscriptions, and maybe one day I'll remember to mention that I actually have a merch store that I never talk about. Now, these brief announcements are essential to sustaining my ability to continue producing quality content. I never require or ask for donations or gifts, though I'm deeply appreciative when viewers choose to show their support in these ways. However, I noticed some comments expressing, and some of this happened yesterday, to be very honest with you, but I noticed some comments expressing, we'll say, frustration about these introductory segments. I've also noticed some people criticizing how our guests share their stories, and I want to be clear. Every guest who appears on this show deserves to tell their story in their own way, and these brief promotional moments are integral to the show's sustainability. While there are many sources for news and entertainment, what makes our community special is the safe, respectful way that in space that we have created together for each other. If my format does not align with your preferences, I completely understand that, but I'm going to remain committed to maintaining an environment where guests, followers, and viewers feel valued and respected. So thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts, and let's just get on to today's show. So that being said, let's talk about the books real quick, and then we're going to get into everything, all right? So I'm going to approach this a little bit differently than I normally do. Guys, let's talk about something that affects 1 in 4 of us that nobody's really talking about except probably me. Explaining family boundaries to our kids. 26% of millennials and Gen Z have cut contact or limited contact with family members. It's not just a number, y'all. That is millions of parents trying to explain the complex situation that they're in to confused kids. As a parent who's navigated these waters, Sorry, lost my train of thought there. Made sure I had that up there. As a parent who has navigated these waters, I realized that we needed a tool because one did not exist. Not just another children's book, but a guide, a tool that helps our kids understand why some relationships need boundaries, what healthy love looks like, how to protect themselves from conditional relationships. This book does something unique. It teaches those crucial life lessons without creating villains, because let's be honest, we don't want our kids carrying our trauma, but we do want them to learn from our experience. Now, imagine your child understanding that setting boundaries is healthy, their family is perfect just as it is, they deserve unconditional love, and they can spot and avoid toxic relationships early. If you're one of the millions navigating complex family dynamics, this book is your conversation starter. It's the resource I wish that I had when I first had to explain family boundaries to my own child. All right? The next book that we're going to talk about is this one, and the new one I will have out very soon, by the way. That's on order. But this one, I'm just going to be direct with you, as I have been so many times with this. Every day I work covering true crime and current events, and I see stories that could have been prevented if children had felt empowered to speak up. That's exactly why this book was written. Surprise, Are Okay, Secrets or Not is not just another children's book. It's a crucial conversation starter that could help keep your child safe. Through the relatable story of three best friends, we tackle one of the most important safety lessons that your child needs to learn, which is the critical difference between happy surprises and dangerous secrets. Now, why is this message so vital? Well, because predators and those who wish to harm children often use secret keeping as their first tool of manipulation. They test these boundaries with small secrets before escalating to bigger secrets. This book helps children recognize those red flags early and give them permission to speak up and know that somebody will listen to them. What makes this book effective is it uses age-appropriate storytelling that doesn't frighten children, features relatable characters that children can identify with, provides clear, actionable guidance for both children and parents, includes practical examples of when to speak up, reinforces that trusted adults are there to help, and emphasizes that children won't get in trouble for telling the truth. And children are going to learn that what the difference is between fun surprises and uncomfortable secrets, that adults should never ask a child to keep a secret, and how to identify trusted adults that they can talk to, and that, again, they won't get in trouble. Now, as someone who has covered countless tragic stories, I can tell you that many, many victims say that they were afraid to speak up. We had one just the other day that we were talking about, or they didn't know that they could. This book gives children the vocabulary and confidence to recognize potentially dangerous situations and seek help. Remember, the most dangerous thing for our children isn't strangers lurking in the shadows, y'all. It is the secrets they're afraid to tell. So let's give them the tools they need to stay safe. This book is an investment in your child's safety and an insurance policy against becoming another tragic headline, because I never want to report on any story that could have been prevented by a child knowing it was okay to speak up. So if you would like to purchase these books, you can do so in the TikTok shop or through the link in my bio, which is my website, JustInTheNickOfCrime.com. You can order the hardcovers and the bundles. Softcover bundles come with free shipping no matter where you order them. Now, while you're watching, whether you're watching on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, welcome. And a quick reminder, your engagement helps us reach more people who would love this content. So hit those platform buttons, follow, subscribe, like, share, comment. Anything you can do is helpful. Now, before we get into Diddy's updates, I have a couple other stories that I want to share with you. All right. We've talked a lot about Diddy, and believe me, I had enough today to fill a show, but I had a bunch of stories that were kind of sent to me. And I think that it's important that you guys know these for awareness purposes. And the first one is to talk about a Long Island child therapist. And what they did is absolutely heinous, and we're going to talk about that real quick. So this is a deeply, deeply troubling case that's going to underscore the critical importance of child protection in professional settings. Now, the U.S. Justice Department has revealed serious charges against a Long Island children's therapist. On October 23rd, federal authorities announced the arraignment of Renee Hoberman, also known as Rena. Rena is a 36-year-old mental health professional who worked with vulnerable young children in Melville, New York. Now, this case has sent shockwaves through the Long Island community and raises, really everybody who reads it, I think, and raises crucial questions about trust, professional screening, and child safety. So Hoberman's position was particularly sensitive as her role involving, therapy, providing therapy to children ranging from infants to 17-year-olds. This is access to vulnerable youth, vulnerable kids. And that makes these allegations especially concerning for parents, fellow healthcare providers, and the broader community. Now, according to the Justice Department's detailed complaint, the investigation covered disturbing activities that allegedly took place over a 5-month period in 24 between June and October. Hoberman is accused of using social media platforms to distribute explicit materials involving infants. Okay, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds on this, but you can figure out what explicit materials involving infants means. The investigation revealed a pattern of deception with allegations that Hoberman created an online persona. This is a woman, but she created an online persona presenting as a male figure so she could engage with others in discussions about child exploitation. Now, the criminal complaint outlines particularly disturbing aspects of this case, including allegations that she shared videos depicting serious crimes against infants and young children. In an online conversation, she allegedly claimed ownership of these victims, not that she was their therapist, that she was a parent, a caretaker, demonstrating, a level of calculation that prosecutors find especially troubling. The U.S. Attorney, Breon Peace, who's covering this, emphasized the heinous nature of these materials involved and assured the public law enforcement would pursue the case with maximum dedication. This is one of those things that goes to show that you never know what's going on behind closed doors, y'all. This reflects the unsettling reality that predatory behavior can exist in unexpected places. Now, where she was hired has quickly taken action, immediately terminated her, and is cooperating with authorities. Homeland Security investigations and the FBI highlighted the particularly egregious nature of these allegations, given her professional role, which is working as a trusted position with children. So, this is just one of those things. And again, this is why, not to try to loop back to this, why I wrote, this book was to prevent stuff like that. I mean, obviously an infant can't talk, but your other kids can, Now, the next story that I want to kind of talk about with you guys is, hold on one second, here we go. Lost my notes. Let's talk about this. This thing, I need to make a video on this, but I'm going to talk about it with you guys here first, all right? And by the way, if you are watching on TikTok, we are going to be getting to Diddy in a few minutes. If you want to see what this pod looks like, you need to march over to YouTube to take a look. But there is an incredibly serious and concerning story that's unfolded out of Switzerland. It came out of this fall. And this is the one I'm telling you, that if you are a true crime junkie, this story is weird. This story doesn't make sense, and it's going to be one that you want to know about. All right? Now, on September 23rd, 2024, there was supposed to be a groundbreaking movement in basically assisted death technology, self-unaliving technology. But instead, there's become a deeply troubling incident that occurred that has led to an ongoing criminal investigation. So let me walk you through exactly what happened. A 64-year-old American woman, who's a mother of two, made the difficult decision to end her life using what's been nicknamed as the Tesla of euthanasia. It's called the sacropod. And her decision was not made lightly. She had been suffering from a devastating condition called skull-base osteomyelitis, which is an infection of bone marrow. Making matters worse, she had an immune disorder that prevented her from receiving effective treatment. So according to reports, she had been wanting to end her life for at least 2 years due to the severe pain she was experiencing, and it's legal for assisted self-unaliving over there. So the location chosen for this first ever use of the sacropod was a forest near a cabin in Marischalhausen, Switzerland. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but now here's where things start to get concerning. There was only one person physically present with the woman, and that was Dr. Florian Willett. And he is the president of the Last Resort, which operates Sacropod. And the pod's inventor, Philip Nitschke, was supposed to be monitoring the whole thing via video call, but they experienced technical difficulties that prevented him from seeing everything. The way the pod was supposed to work is pretty straightforward. The person inside pushes a button that releases nitrogen gas into the sealed chamber, which should cause them to peacefully fall asleep before passing away because of lack of oxygen. But that's not what appears to have happened here. What appears to have happened here is that there were several red flags during the procedure. The pod was opened and closed multiple times before the final button press, supposedly to test closure. Then about 6.5 minutes after the woman pressed the button, something deeply disturbing occurred. Dr. Willett was heard saying to Dr. Philip Nitschke, who by the way is the one monitoring over video call, "She's still alive." That's recorded. The statement was apparently triggered by an alarm going off, thought to be from a heart rate monitor. And you could see then Willett leaning over the pod during this time until the alarm eventually stopped. But this is where the story takes a darker turn. When the woman was found, she had severe injuries to her neck, including what are being described as strangulation marks. This discovery has led for the police, the chief prosecutor, to suspect that this case might have been intentional homicide rather than assisted self-aliving. The aftermath was swift. Police swept into the force and arrested everyone in the vicinity, including the photographer and lawyers who were present. Most were released, but Dr. Will is the one who remains in custody for nearly 5 weeks now, something that's raised eyebrows among observers, right? Because why is he still there? You know, he hasn't been publicly accused yet of intentional homicide, and he's been using this suspicion to convince judges to extend the custody that the police chief has. So there were 371 active applications for using the Sacropod, and all of those have been suspended while the criminal investigation is underway. It is worth noting, however, that authorities have warned that the last resort in writing that if they proceed with using the Sacro where they did, that they would face criminal consequences. So there's a lot that we don't know about this. I feel like this is going to be one that we keep talking about a little bit, but the strangulation marks, the safety oversight of safety protocols, the presence of the strangulation marks, the mysterious alarm, the technical difficulties, the video monitoring, the statement that she's still alive, all paint a picture that maybe this wasn't exactly what it was supposed to be, right? But anyways, drop your thoughts on the comments on this one. This one's a weird one. This is why I had to add this one to the show, because it was weird. Now, the next one that I want to talk about real quick is this, and I'm going to try to do this. In fact, I'm going to be, again, you guys know I like to be transparent with you guys. I actually used AI to help me, like, how can I make this as unbiased as I possibly can, because that is, the goal of this is not to be biased or point fingers at somebody, it is to provide awareness. And basically, here's what we're going to get into. The election in the U.S. is less than a week away, and I know that tensions are high. I see it every day in comments. I see it every day in videos, etc. All right, but what happened in Texas last Thursday is completely unacceptable. And what I'm talking about is that at the Johnston Branch Library in Bexar County, Texas, which is San Antonio area, a gentleman entered a polling place wearing a Trump MAGA hat. All right? He followed the proper procedure, and he removed it to vote, because you're not allowed to wear political garb at the polling place. No matter which side you're on, no matter what it is, you're just not allowed to. It's a federal law. And he took it off. Now, it's unclear at this point whether or not he took it off or was told to take it off, whether he did on his own. But when he finished voting, he put it back on while he was still in the polling place. And a 69-year-old poll worker told him that this wasn't allowed. And when that happened, the poll worker began to escort him out, which, I mean, he was leaving anyways. He had already voted, right? And this man is described as a larger man in his early 60s, and he allegedly turned around and threw several punches right at the face of this 60-year-old man. And the poll worker, had visible marks on his face from the assault. The guy, whose name is Luntzberger, was arrested and charged with injury to an elderly person, which is a felony offense, and he has since posted a $30,000 bond release from Bexar County Adult Detention Center. But the point of me telling you guys this is I realize that this is a very volatile election. I realize that both sides of the aisle feel that there is a lot at stake with this, and I get that, and I'm empathetic with that. But it's not an excuse to beat up somebody when they're just trying to follow the rules. And so the information that I'm going to share with you guys is that all 50 states have some form of restriction on wearing campaign political materials in polling places in the immediate vicinity where voting occurs. And those laws are put there to prevent voter intimidation and maintain a neutral voting environment so people can go there and feel safe. Federal law prohibits campaigning within a certain distance of a polling place, often between 100 and 150 feet, depending on the state. This includes wearing campaign clothing, buttons, signs, etc. Poll workers can ask you to remove or cover up political items, and if you refuse, they can't stop you from voting, but they may require you to vote provisionally. So, meaning that you might not be allowed to vote there, but you can still go vote. And so here's what you need to know. If you haven't voted yet, if you haven't early voted, you're planning on early voting this week, you're planning on going on election day, which is next week, Remove political items before entering. Keep them off until you've fully exited. If there is a disagreement, handle it legally through proper channels, because violence at polling places, y'all, is a serious crime with serious consequences. And I encourage every one of y'all, if you haven't already, please exercise your right to vote. It's an amazing thing that we have, but do it peacefully and legally. No piece of political clothing is worth a felony charge, y'all. Not one. Not one. So now with that being said, all that stuff out of the way, let's get into Diddy, guys. Let's get into Diddy. Okay? And we have another Ashton Kutcher story. Guys, we have another Ashton Kutcher story involved in this. And you know what I find fascinating about Hollywood, y'all? It's the way that the stories seem to surface at just the right moment. Right? How many things have we seen from Ashton Kutcher because he can't shut up? He can't leave himself out of this. We know that he was friends with Danny Masterson. We know that he was friends with Diddy. We know he's took up for Diddy, that there's a lot of pictures that he's been to parties, right? And then he comes out, you know, with the, we're going to move to Europe. He comes out with the, I hope that Diddy doesn't lie about his friends, which is really freaking weird. But now we have this. There's a recent piece about Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore. All right. So as the Diddy situation continues to explode across the headlines, we get a perfectly timed story about how Demi Moore apparently kept Ashton away from all of Diddy's wild parties back in the day. Let's break down what's really, really interesting here, which is this comes from an insider, which is always a convenient source when you need to shape a narrative, right? And what are they telling us? That Demi Moore, despite her risque roles in the 90s, was actually this incredibly conservative force who kept Ashton on a really tight leash. I find that really convenient. I don't know about you. I can't help but have my bias in this, guys. I'm sorry. The source even goes as far to say, though, that Ashton owes Demi a giant thank you for keeping him away from what they call these crazy situations. It's almost like they're trying to create this protective bubble around Ashton, retroactively distancing him from any potential association with Diddy's current troubles. Right? It's very strange. Now, what makes this particularly intriguing, in my opinion, is the timing, because we've seen this playbook before. We've seen when celebrities need to create distance from controversial figures, these kind of stories tend to emerge. It's like PR 101, right? Go ahead, get ahead of the story, establish your alibi, make sure that it comes from a seemingly independent source, and notice how they handled the Danny Masterson connection. They acknowledge that they quickly explain it away as a pre-Demi relationship. That's how they do it in this article. They claim that the relationship with Danny Masterson was pre-Demi, and that she had to tolerate it. Y'all, it is a masterclass in narrative control. You can acknowledge what you can't deny, but immediately reframe it. This whole piece that I read, I mean, it reads like a carefully orchestrated attempt to position Ashton as someone who was protected from rather than involved in anything questionable. It's reminiscent of how Hollywood often works, creating narratives that serve as insurance policies against future revelations. But what's particularly clever, I think, is how they use Demi's reputation and star power as a shield. By painting her as this protective force in Ashton's life during those years, they're not only just distancing him from Diddy, they're giving him a legitimate reason for why he would not have been involved in anything controversial during that era. But here's what makes it so fascinating. We're seeing this story emerge now at the precise moment when nobody was really asking Ashton about Diddy's connection in the first place. Nobody has been asking Ashton about his Diddy in the first place, but he keeps giving it up. It's like answering the question before anyone thinks to ask it. And in Hollywood, that timing rarely happens by accident. You know? Rarely. And he was still at the party. There's pictures. And I'm going to say it again, y'all. He was on the tapes or he wasn't on the tapes. That's it. He's on the tapes or he's not. If he's not on the tapes, he's got nothing to worry about. Why does this man keep why is he doing this? In my opinion, whoever he's got for PR needs to just stop and just shut up, be quiet about it, because nobody is asking for the things that he's saying and nobody's accusing him, and he just comes out of left field like, we're moving to Europe because we don't feel Hollywood's safe to raise our kids. I hope Diddy doesn't lie about his friends. Now, I never went to these because Demi Moore protected him. Come on, guys. Come on. Now, we have learned a little bit more information, guys, about some of the surveillance at these Diddy parties. All right. A former model named Precious Muir, recently shared her experiences to the U.S. Mirror. It's an exclusive, and I'm going to break down the key aspects of this story, which is still developing, by the way. First, let's look at the context. Precious's account comes at a particularly sensitive time, following all the stuff involving Diddy's actions, his properties, all the lawsuits coming against him, and she draws some concerning parallels between parties at Diddy's residences and those at the Playboy Mansion, specifically regarding surveillance practices. What makes her testimony noteworthy, though, is her unique perspective as someone who moved in both circles. She attended both Diddy's events and worked as a Playboy bunny. So she describes a troubling pattern of hidden cameras in private spaces, specifically bedrooms at both properties, which aligns with previous accounts, including Crystal Hefner's memoir revelations about surveillance at the Playboy Mansion. Now, the story gains additional weight when considering that Precious Muir's personal anecdote about the near-miss situation with a prominent athlete at the Playboy Mansion. She recounted about how someone banging on the door potentially prevented her from being recorded without consent, and that highlights the very real risks that these environments pose to guests. It's also important to note that Diddy's representatives have strongly denied these allegations. However, these claims can't be viewed as an isolation, as they come in the wake of serious legal developments. You know, at the very least, the Homeland Security raids on his properties in Beverly Hills and Miami, and covering all this evidence related to the freak-offs, including tapes and videos, which are illegal activities. And the implications here extend far beyond celebrity gossip, y'all. We're seeing a pattern of powerful figures in the entertainment industry allegedly using their influence and resources to create environments where surveillance and potential exploitation could occur. The similarities between the Playboy Mansion operations and all these allegations against Diddy's parties suggest that there might be a systemic issue in certain entertainment circles, and I hope that we're breaking all of this open. At the end of the day, though, it's still ongoing. You know, I think that this means also we need to continue having these conversations and honestly broader conversations about the entertainment industry, particularly as they relate to young performers and models. It's not good stuff, and it's been something that's been going on for years. Now, I want to get into the juicy stuff with you guys. This stuff is disturbing, it's new, and it's interesting. Now, somebody said something I want to address real quick, because Margaret Johnson said something in here, and I want to actually put this comment up before I move on. The comment here is, I'm going to give you my 2 cents. Now, you got to bear in mind that I don't know. This is my opinion, the thing that I'm about to say. The comment is, Ashton is going to Diddy parties but saving children. I'm on the fence about this one. My instinct is he liked the parties more. I hope he saved children, but allegedly he was still there. And I get your sentiments, Margaret, and I agree, but here's what I'm going to say to this. And I'm not being accusatory. I'm just putting this thought out there because it's an unfortunate truth sometimes. And that is that sometimes people put themselves in positions like that where you're helping children, you're helping victims, you're helping this, to basically try to distance themselves from the things that they are doing. Now, I am not saying that Ashton is the person who's done that. I'm not saying that that is Ashton. And I'm hoping, like you, that he was there to help save children and keep kids safe. I truly hope that his intentions were good. But, I mean, I think we'd be naive not to question it at this point. So, now, let's talk about this. Everyone knows that Diddy's parties were legendary in the 2000s, right? Even Bow Wow came out recently and said that the whole industry feels different because this isn't there anymore. They were the ultimate symbol of hip-hop excess, celebrity culture. And as you know, with everything that's come out, this paints a very dark picture of what was actually going on. And a former party planner, somebody who worked for Diddy, came forward with details that are simultaneously absurd, but deeply, deeply disturbing. Imagine being so controlling, y'all, that you keep an actual scale in your car to weigh women at the door. Let me repeat that. Imagine being so controlling that you keep a scale close by to weigh women coming into these parties. And the magic number, y'all, 140 pounds. Unless, there's a caveat though. If you were tall enough to earn some discretion, then maybe you'd get a few more pounds added. So, ladies, if you weigh more than 140 pounds and you're not overly tall, you can mark yourself safe from a Diddy party. You can mark yourself safe from Diddy. All right? And this wasn't just a casual preference, y'all. This was a systematic process of objectification. That's what it is. It is a systematic process of objectification. That is all you can call it. I think a lot of women out there are happy to be over 140 pounds right now, knowing this. Now, these requirements, y'all, this is not the only one, but they read like some sort of twisted casting call. You weren't allowed to have cellulite. No flab. No flab. No short hair. No excessive piercings or tattoos. The dress code was extremely rigid. Mandatory stilettos, tall stilettos. Mandatory, no exceptions. No pants were allowed. You had to wear party dresses, and the dresses just had to be just long enough to technically not be a shirt. We're talking about a level of control that goes beyond, way beyond typical party planning into something sincerely more sinister. Like these dresses, y'all, the highest they could be is mid-thigh. The preference was barely covering the butt. Barely covering the lower part of the butt. Somebody said Jada had no hair. I want to make a real quick note too on this. While I'm not 100% sure, I believe that these lists, these requirements did not apply to celebrities. They did not apply to celebrities. They apply to the average person who was invited. If you were not a somebody, you are not a well-known A-lister, these rules applied to you. All right? Because we've seen pictures of women. Aretha Franklin was definitely more than 140 pounds. She was there. We've seen plenty of women who are celebrities at these things that were more than 140 pounds. This was for people who were, for lack of a better term, nobodies in their world. Now, let's talk about where it starts to get even darker. While they're meticulously checking women's weight and hemlines, nobody was checking IDs. The party planner's excuse? Oh, we thought it was about drinking laws. Right. Because when you're running what prosecutors now allege was a sophisticated trafficking operation, you're really worried about underage drinking. And I get it. This woman who was the party planner says that she was young, so that's what she thought of herself. Whatever. Maybe that's true, but I don't think that you're as involved into this world being a party planner for a guy like this and you don't know what's really going on. I just can't get behind that. I can't get behind that. The most chilling aspect of these allegations, though, is the deliberate avoidance of age verification. It was deliberate. According to the former party planner, it was an explicit don't ask, don't tell policy when it came to the ages, specifically of female attendees. Their explanation was that they thought it was about skirting drinking laws, as I said. And that explanation reads as either shockingly naive or willfully blind, and I'm not buying either one of those, personally. She said, at the time, I was really young myself, and I honestly thought that they weren't even asking their age because of drinking. And I honestly thought they weren't asking their age because of drinking laws. The fact that someone directly involved in organizing events could maintain such a veneer of innocence speaks volumes about how these alleged operations normalized the exploitation. What's particularly striking is how the party planner distanced themselves from the freak-offs. Right? She said that she never stayed around for the freak-offs. She had no idea these girls were expected to have relations with people. Really? You planned the party, you got everything, you did everything that he needed you to do, you checked the hemlines, you had a scale nearby to weigh people and turn them away. You didn't check ages. And you're going to just be like, I left before this happened, so I didn't know. BS, y'all. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Anyways. She never stayed, she says. She didn't know that they were expected to have relationships with people. But this raises to me, in my opinion, even more questions, right? Because in an environment where women were being weighed at the door and subjected to explicit dress codes and objectification, how plausible is this claimed ignorance? It paints a picture of compartmentalization where even those involved in the machinery of exploitation, this well-oiled, well-orchestrated machine of exploitation, could supposedly remain unaware of its intended purpose. And these weren't just random house parties either, y'all. These freak-offs were strategically timed with major industry events. We've learned that. The VMAs, the Super Bowl, you name it. It is classic Predator playbook. Hide your criminal enterprise behind legitimate businesses and entertainment, which is how he got RICO charges. And while A-listers were living it up in the main rooms, prosecutors alleged that women in other parts of the house were being given substances and assaulted. So I can't say certain words. The scope of this thing, guys, is staggering. It is absolutely staggering. We're talking about over 300 alleged victims coming forward. Feds seizing hundreds of S-tapes and 1,000 bottles of baby oil from his properties. This wasn't some like rich dude throwing wild parties, y'all. This appears to be, as the federal government has shown us, an organized criminal enterprise just hiding in plain sight at the highest levels of entertainment. Now, as you know, Diddy's sitting in a Brooklyn detention center that's getting raided right now by the Department of Justice and FBI and other, state law enforcement agencies for being how bad it is, which is, I have a feeling strongly because Diddy's here. And he's maintaining the same story, y'all. Every time this happens, the lawyers put out the same statement that he never essayed anyone. But between the federal indictments, the mountain of physical evidence, the growing number of victims, that defense, I don't know how long they're going to be able to stay on with that statement. Now, the most disturbing part of this was that it's been happening for years at the biggest events in entertainment. It makes you wonder how many people, y'all, knew and looked the other way. How many were complicit in creating this system where women were literally being weighed like livestock before being led into these elaborate performances. Like treating them like cattle. Marching them in, weighing them, making sure that they're fit to be here. Making sure that they were fit to be abused. They say beggars can't be choosers, but I guess not if you're Diddy. Anyways, y'all, this isn't about just one bad actor here. And we know this. It's about an entire system that enabled this kind of exploitation to thrive at the highest levels of entertainment. And as every day more details emerge, it becomes clearer and clearer that Diddy's infamous parties weren't just decadent. They were criminal enterprises protected by money, power, and an industry and people who were all too willing to look the other way. It's insane, y'all. It's insane. I'm going to throw a picture up of our favorite criminal right now. So yesterday we talked about the lawsuit that was filed about the 10-year-old R victim. Two lawsuits were filed yesterday on Monday, and they were about a 10-year-old and a 17-year-old. Both were underage. And yesterday, the way that this works, it trickles out, and we got information on the 10-year-old because that was the most heinous. That was the one that was going to get the most headlines. And we gave the information we had, and we have more information about that. And we're also going to talk about the 17-year-old, okay? And in case you didn't hear it, I'm going to go over it again, but I'm going to give you the additional details that we didn't have yesterday because one of the comments that I have seen frequently, and the video on TikTok is at like almost 600,000 views, and I know that one of the common comments were the parents, and I think I might have an answer on that based on this. And I don't have a ton of information, but I'm thinking, and we'll talk about it after we go through this, but I'm thinking the parents, well, let me just read it to you, and then I'll get into my opinions, and y'all can tell me what you think too, and I want to know what y'all think. But the first thing that came out yesterday, the person who filed them, who's a man now, was a child then in 2005, filed as a John Doe. He resides currently in California and alleges that an assault took place, like I said, in 2005 when he was 10, and he was interested in becoming an actor and or rapper. In an attempt to help their son's career aspirations, the boy's parents And this is the new information here, y'all. The boy's parents hired an industry consultant who recommended they fly from their home in Los Angeles to New York to meet with music industry figures. Now, during that trip, the consultant arranged for Combs to meet with the young boy for an audition. And Combs asked to meet with the boy alone before meeting with the family. The consultant took the boy to Combs' hotel room. The consultant, by the way, was a female. But the consultant took the boy to Combs' hotel room and left him alone with him. The boy performed a few rap songs for Combs, who told him he could make him a star and asked him how badly he wanted it. Typical grooming behavior. According to the complaint, the plaintiff responded as any 10-year-old would. He would do anything. You know, a 10-year-old's not thinking what Diddy's thinking. This kid wants the rap lifestyle. It's 2005. Hip-hop, in my opinion, part of hip-hop's golden age was the early 2000s. Some of the best stuff came out of the early 2000s. Afterwards, another person presented the boy with a soda, which he drank. Shortly afterwards, he began to feel a little funny, which, according to the plaintiff's attorney, says was laced with something, some kind of a substance. Then, after consuming the soda, Combs allegedly told the boy to move closer to him and pushed him down, telling him something to the effect of, you have to do some stuff you don't want to do sometimes. Trigger warning for this next part, y'all. Once pushed down, Combs exposed himself and told the boy to kiss it. After refusing, the boy said no. Diddy forced him to perform certain acts. ACTS, acts, S-acts on him. And the boy shortly afterwards lost consciousness. While he was being AR'd, he lost consciousness. When he came to, his pants were undone. His rear area, as we'll describe it first for safety of the platforms, hurt badly. He cried for his parents. And Diddy told him, Sean Combs told him, if you say anything to anyone, I will hurt or unalive your parents. Then the consultant returned, and she noticed how badly he was shaken and took him back to his parents, who ascertained he was lethargic and acting differently. So before I get into the story about the 17-year-old, I kind of want to discuss what I kind of think happened here. I think that you had parents. Okay, there's a picture I got to paint. It's very. I know that 2005 was almost right at 20 years ago. And I know that it's 20 years might not seem like a long time, but it is, especially when it comes to stuff like this and the way that things were handled, the way that parents were handled, okay, and handled their kids. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. And this child deserves justice. And he deserves to get justice. And I've seen a lot of parental blame. And even I, yesterday, after seeing what he was, felt the same way. But I'm trying to maintain an open mind here, y'all. And that's that these people are from LA, from Los Angeles. They tried to support their child's dream and hired somebody they felt would be good as like a liaison to work. The parents weren't the ones who dropped them off at a hotel, y'all. It was this consultant. Back then, if you knew the rumors at all, they were just rumors. The internet was not widespread like it was, and let's just be real. A lot of parents of a different generation did not look after us as we as parents do now, look after our kids. So it's hard to judge it through that lens, in my opinion. So it seems like the parents relied, and they probably didn't think too. I mean, you got to think back then, just like the Menendez brothers, right? There was a time where abuse couldn't happen to boys. That was truly believed, that abuse could not happen to boys. They just wouldn't believe it. It was girls only. And this is kind of in the cusp of that time period, y'all. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. As a parent, I would have gone along too. I would have. Frankly, as a parent, I wouldn't put my kid in this industry at all. I have a friend who's a director who would not let his child be in this industry that he's in. Right? But back then, even somebody said, you never leave your child's side ever. Correct. But back then, that's not how it was. I was raised, my mom is a baby, but my dad's technically the last year silent generation. My parents did not give a crap-ish as long as I was home on time. They didn't know where we were half the time. We didn't have cell phones. We went where we went and came back when we came back. And 2005 is still at the end, toward the end cusp of that. It's a kid born in 95, mid-millennial, or toward the end of millennials. So I don't agree with what they did. But that's just how it was back then. And I think that they trusted somebody with their child and got themselves in that situation. So I want to give the parents a little bit of grace if I'm able to do so until we have more people come out. And that's all. Hold on one second. I think I just got a breaking news thing coming in before I go to the next part. Something might be breaking news coming in. I'll let you guys know if that's the case. Bear with me, guys. I just got a notification. I'm trying to get it pulled up. All right, let me go to post. All right, it appears there is an active shooter event at the Four Seasons Hotel in Atlanta right now. Let me take a look real quick and see what I can get more information. And then we'll talk. We have one more thing about Diddy to talk about. Let me see what I got for y'all on this here. Bear with me one second here. We have a live active shooter event just happened. Let me see if I can get you guys some information here. Apparently there is a SWAT standoff maybe going on. Hold on. Shots have been fired near the busy Four Seasons Hotel, Midtown Atlanta, as police investigate a call for a barricaded gunman on Tuesday afternoon. That's today. Details are limited, but the call came in around 2 p.m., which is, about 2 hours ago, prompting heavy law enforcement presence at the hotel. Hotel's down the street from Piedmont Park and not that far from Colony Square Shopping Center. A spokesperson with the Atlanta PD said that out of an abundance of caution, units have set up a perimeter to safely investigate the matter. If you are in Atlanta, you want to avoid downtown. 14th Street Northeast at West Peachtree, Street Northeast and Crescent Ave, and 13th Street Northeast at West Peachtree Street Northeast and Crescent Ave Northeast. So 13th and 14th Street. And apparently multiple shots were fired. There's snipers being seen surrounding the buildings. This was at 4:10, which is 8 minutes ago. They're still hearing gunshots. Shelter in place order, stay out of the area. If you're in Atlanta, there is an active shooter event right now going on. So I wanted to let you guys know that real quick. Sorry, that was breaking news. I figured I'll let you guys know that while we were here. All right, so getting back to our regularly scheduled broadcast about terrible stuff, which was interrupted by something else that was terrible. Let's talk about the other lawsuit, guys. The second lawsuit that was filed this week was done in New York, was a different John Doe, and he claims that Diddy forced him to perform certain acts on him during a 2008 audition of Making the Band. So that picture you guys see right there, that's Making the Band. If you're on TikTok, you don't see it. He was only 17 years old at the time, and during all three auditions, Diddy allegedly coerced him to engage in some type of act with both himself and his bodyguard, who is referred to as T, as a test to see how badly he wanted to make it in the music industry. Now, this boy, child, 17-year-old teenager, visually expressed discomfort and hesitation with the entire situation. He wasn't happy about it. So, Diddy told him that he would be keeping an eye on him, which basically ultimately led to his elimination from the competition. Because he didn't like doing what Diddy wanted, they eliminated him from the competition. Right? He was not able to return to the music industry for 7 years because of that. Now, both of these two new lawsuits were filed under New York City's Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act, which allows survivors to bring lawsuits even if the statute of limitations has passed. That's how they're getting done. Now, let me take this down real quick. Did y'all know that Diddy's 55th birthday is coming up? In like 6 days. November 4th is Diddy's 55th birthday. And call it a hunch. I got no inside information on this. This is just a hunch, just speculation. But I have a feeling we'll be seeing some interesting new allegations from Tony Busby as a present for Diddy's 55th birthday. That's what I think. I feel like it was light this week, guys. As far as the amount of things that have dropped lawsuit-wise. But nevertheless, I want to thank you guys for another amazing stream with the absolute best community out there. Now, if you're not already part of our family, hit that follow button, subscribe on the platform of your choice, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's something free that you can do that helps me quite a bit. Easy to do. Trying to get YouTube, we're always growing TikTok, trying to get YouTube to 35,000. We're getting closer every day. Instagram, we're trying to get to 100K. We're getting closer every day. But we've got an incredible week planned with more Diddy updates, more breaking news stories. With an election week coming up, we'll be covering a little bit of that, and I will do it from as much as I can a non-biased perspective, even though when I talk about it, people think even when I'm being non-biased that I'm being biased, but we have election coming up on that and stuff like that. And don't forget to turn those notifications on so you know when we go live. You know, thank everyone for making this stream special because none of this would exist without you guys. And before we go, I do want to acknowledge this real quick. We got sent a super chat, something that you guys don't have to do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing that, Fly Girl. You're amazing. And for everybody else, guys, appreciate all of y'all for being here, for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.